So welcome to our presentation today. Okay, so this is what we are going to talk about today. I will start and then Kyle and Evita will continue. We would like to give you a brief introduction of what we are and what we stand for. And afterwards, of course, you're cordially invited to ask all sorts of questions. A few pictures. I'm looking for Frau Weber's face. Yes, she's here on the pictures. Excellent. So where is Austria? Austria is in the middle of Europe, in the heart of Central Europe, as we like to say. It's a pretty small country, but neighboring many others. So once normal traveling is enabled again, it is a pretty convenient location for you to visit other countries in Europe as well during your stay. Vienna itself is the capital and the largest city of Austria. It is also one of Austria's 9 federal states. There are around 2 million people in Vienna and nearly 200,000 students. Vienna has always functioned as a bridge between the east and the west of Europe, which makes it also politically an interesting place. And it functions as a cultural capital and also economic and political center within the European Union. Vienna, one city, many possibilities. That's what we call the next slide. During your stay here, you will see that there are many cultural highlights for you to attend. There are free outdoor concerts. There's, of course, the famous coffee house culture. And I know Anna Suchuk is also teaching an excellent course on coffee house culture.
In the fall, last quarter.
In the fall, right. And Vienna is repeatedly ranked as the city with the highest quality of life on Earth, and is also well known as a famous smart city, actually. And of course, last but not least, there are well-respected academic institutions, among them maybe the most mentionable, the University of Vienna, where you can also take courses. Vienna, a center of international relations. Here you can see a couple of examples. For example, the European Union Fundamental Rights Agency is in Vienna, the OPEC, the OSCE. There is also United Nations headquarters and numerous other institutions. More about our programs. So what do we stand for? We stand for a strong academic program. It's very important for us to support you in your academic choices, in your academic advising, of course, always in collaboration with your academic advisors at home. But in the past, the mixture between courses taught by us and our IiVP staff and courses at the University of Vienna proved to be a very good combination for students during their time abroad. The University of Vienna is the oldest university in the German-speaking world with wide offerings, with a wide number of offerings. We also provide a rich academic and cultural orientation at the beginning of your time. Realizing that it's especially the first days and weeks when you're new to a country and the city, where students need the most support usually. And the further we go along during the semester, the more the students go out on their own and check out their places and spaces with their new friends. What we will also definitely do is we will host online orientation sessions before you even come to Vienna. And then the last bullet point on this slide, immersion into Viennese cultural life. Also, again, realizing that a couple of months is not a very long time. And it's not that easy to really meet the Austrians, meet the local people when you're new to your country. We would like to support the contact with Austrian students. We organize roundtables, for example. It's an exchange program that we organize. So we also assist Austrian students going to Illinois. They are studying at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign then. And so we have these contacts of returning Austrians who were in Illinois, coming back and those who will go. And we always try to make students meet at these roundtables. A few more reasons, hopefully, for you to decide to join our programs, participate in our programs is we have experienced program staff. We like to facilitate immersion-based language learning. Vienna is our classroom, so to speak. We do not only have a rich cultural orientation, but we also try to book interesting cultural offerings for you throughout the whole semester. And we ask you at the beginning, where do you want to join? Where should we book tickets for you? When do you have time? And of course, we try to not only make you meet Austrian students as often as possible, but also give you access to our large network of alumni and mentors who offer events such as mentoring sessions, sometimes even job sharing opportunities or help with internships maybe later on in your lives. The programs that you might participate in are either the German language program, fall or the whole academic year, and the Vienna diplomatic program. So when we talk about academic offerings now a little more, we have program core courses each semester. So first you see the German speaking language courses. We have an advanced German language course, and the codes in the brackets are referring to the Illinois catalog now. So we have an advanced German language course. We have a course on topics in German and European culture, mostly Austrian culture, of course, and then a literature course. So 3 advanced German language literature courses. And then we also have, for those people who do not speak any German at all, we have German 101, the beginner's class, and German 205. That's a course on Austria and Europe in English. And then PS 393, that's the Vienna Diplomatic Practicum. That's one course for all VDP students from Illinois and DePaul participating together, getting assistance in their research projects, in their contact with international institutions. And a part of this PS 393 is always an online component with a professor from Illinois and or DePaul, or additional professor from DePaul. And we also have tutoring meetings then here that you can take with me, where you also get assistance on whatever projects you will be working on. And as I mentioned, you're also most cordially invited to participate in courses at the University of Vienna. The University of Vienna has, when you look at their course catalog, has numerous courses in political science, European integration, international studies, but also art and music history, languages, literatures, and so on and so forth. So they have wide offerings for you to choose from. All right, and where are we? Where is our office? Our office is at the University of Economics and Business. So that's a little confusing for most students, and I fully understand it. Sometimes even confusing for us. So we have, for historic reason, this program will actually celebrate its 50th anniversary next year. And it started with a cooperation with the University of Economics and Business. This is why our office is still here. And we also exchange business students from Illinois, but that's another story. So that's why our office is here. And we're happy to have access to this excellent infrastructure, this very modern and nice, friendly campus next to a large green area in the Prater, where you can spend your free time during classes. So this is where our program core courses are taught. So when you participate in German 101, German 205, the language classes, everything that we teach happens here. And it's nicely connected with the U2 subway to the city center. You'll get around very easily. And you only need one subway line from here to the University of Vienna. So that's where our program office is. And now we will provide some more course information, and I will hand over now to my colleagues for the next part.
Yeah, you can find more information about our courses on our website. You can click on the picture you've seen before in the presentation. We offer classes in English and in German. In English, we offer German 101 for all students who have not completed any coursework in German. It's part of our orientation. It starts in September, fall. And also Austria and Europe, German 205. And in German, we offer a German literature class with a focus on the 20th century and a class about the Austrian history and culture. And language class, we also have an advanced German language class each semester. So more information about German 101. It's a first semester German course. It's an introduction to the German language and culture, and of course also Austrian culture. It's kind of a survival kit for you. So we want you to speak German in everyday life in Vienna while you're here. And we also go on some interesting excursions, museums, interesting places in Vienna. We will have a coffee in one of the Viennese coffee houses, Kaffeehäuser in German. And of course, we try to order this coffee in German. Yeah, so German 101. This is everything. Thank you. German 205, Austria and Europe. It's an introduction to the relationship between Austria and Europe from the Roman Empire to the European Union. So a huge period of time. Each student does a research project, and you will have some very interesting excursions, for example, to the Austrian Parliament, which you can see on this picture. Der Sprachkurs. It's an advanced German class, which focuses on the improvement in oral and written competence. And you will also focus on some current and very interesting discourses in the Austrian and German society. You will read authentic articles, short texts, watch videos, hear podcasts, and you will also, of course, focus on grammar. Then I teach the Literaturkurs und Kulturkurs. Literaturkurs focuses on German-speaking literature of the 20th century. We read short stories from authors from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And both classes also focus on the improvement in oral and written competence. The Kulturkurs focuses on Austrian history and culture. We start with the Roman Empire. Vienna was part of the Roman Empire. We will, in our excursions, also visit the ruins you can still see in Vienna, but also museums, interesting cultural places. We will also focus on the amazing architecture in Vienna. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think Carl will go on now.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about our academic calendar and how the program is sort of how you will experience it. So all the PAL students will arrive in the beginning in September, we'll say. So no students will actually arrive from DePaul in January because the DePaul programs are either for the fall semester or for the full academic year. Yeah. So you'll arrive in September, and then we have an orientation. Part of that is German 101 and German 205, if you are in one of those courses. And the semester at the University of Vienna will begin in October. So we have that first orientation month. So yeah, so we have, as I mentioned, we have two orientations. We have an orientation in for German 101, or for students that don't speak German. This is an English-speaking orientation, and this takes place during German 101 class. Yeah, so it's really part of the, similar to what Vita talked about, we do a lot of excursions, we go and we visit places, but we also talk about the city of Vienna and about Austria and things that you will really want to know to get started when you are living in a new country. And we also have a German language orientation, which takes place separately. And we talk about similar information, of course, but we also do just kind of a broad review of German grammar and conversation practices, because maybe it's, we expect that for many people, it's the first time you live in a foreign, in a German-speaking country. So this would be a good way to just kind of practice things that you will need on a daily basis. And the orientation is in September for the fall semester and February for the spring semester. And we have a couple of different housing options for you when you come to Vienna. We work with two different Studentenwohnheime, as they're called in German, or dorm buildings. And they are Haus Panorama, which is located in the 20th district of Vienna. They're both about the same distance from the universities, I would say, from each other. But yes, Haus Panorama has single occupancy spaces, and you can see it in the picture on the top here. A very tall building, has a nice view. And in Haus Erasmus, which is located in the 7th district, is double occupancy spaces, which you can see in the photo below here. And yes, just to go back a little bit to excursions and our cultural program. So not only do we have excursions as part of the courses, but we also have a variety of cultural activities that we go on with students that Dr. Pfeffele mentioned at the beginning. Some of these have been, here you can see in the picture, we go ice skating at the beginning of the spring semester. So if you stay for the academic year, you can experience the beautiful Rathaus or City Hall, and we go ice skating there. It's always a lot of fun. And other really fun trips, we go to the Wachau region, where we can, it's a region just not too far from Vienna, a very famous wine region, and other really good foods. And yeah, we go to concerts and we go hiking in the fall. And one of my favorite activities are the roundtables with Austrian students. So as we mentioned, we've been doing this for a while now. So we have a pretty big network of students that have either gone to the United States from Vienna or from the United States and in Vienna. And we like to introduce you to them. Yeah, so you can find people that maybe will be studying abroad in the United States next semester, and you can kind of connect on that level. And they can also show you some things in Vienna and of course practice German, even if you haven't learned it yet. Yeah, and here are some pictures. As I mentioned, the first picture, here are some DePaul students actually in the Wachau when we were doing our excursion there. We go to the parliament. This was a German 205 excursion. The bottom right is a picture with Frau Nietzsche and her, I think it was the culture course. A lot of fun, all of the excursions and the cultural activities. Here's some more there. And we also have a pretty large network of alumni and friends that have participated in the program. And from time to time, we offer, or they offer events where we do, they kind of do sometimes job shadowing, or they talk about their careers and what study abroad meant for them, or why they they're really excited to meet students from the United States, and it's a lot of fun to work with them. Yes, and I think this is my wrap up. I would also like to kindly welcome you to follow us on social media. It's been a different year now, I guess we can say, in terms of what we can show you from students in Vienna. We haven't had them for a while now. So we try to show you Vienna as best as we can in this very interesting time. And we are on Instagram and on Facebook, and our @ is @Illinois Vienna. So please follow us there. And this is our contact information and we'll send you this PowerPoint as well. Dr. Pfeffele this is her last day before she goes into maternity leave, or tomorrow's her last day before she goes into maternity leave. So all three of us are working together, and you can contact us at any time. Yes.
All right, thank you very much for everyone's attention. As Kyle just said, it's tomorrow is my last day before I'm going on maternity leave, and I will leave the program in the wonderful hands of Kyle Schmude and Evita Nitsch, and I will be back to welcome you in fall 21, of course. We cannot wait to have students again here Kara, how would you like to proceed now? Should we proceed with some impressions from Frau Weber or with questions or?
Yes, so I would like at this time, thank you so much, Alexandra. Thank you so much for presenting Evita and Kyle and Alexandra. I would like to have Fern Weber tell us a little bit about her experience having studied there in Vienna last year. And so if she can tell us a little bit about hers, and then we'll go ahead and open it up to questions from the audience. So if you want to ask our on-site directors, stuff about the program, if you'd like to ask me about the process or anything like that, just let us know. So we'll move into questions and a Q&A session after. So Fern, take it away.
Well, honestly, seeing that presentation was sort of a trip down memory lane because I'd forgotten a lot of the structure of the day and everything. But yes, I took all the program courses and they were really good. I recommend them. And my German got so much better just from being in class speaking German all the time. If you speak German, definitely sign up for classes in German. Lots of classes in German. And I would recommend being able to speak German before you go if you possibly can, because it really adds so much to the daily life, being able to order food in German and talk to people on the train in German. And it's a very reserved culture, so basically you can get away with not talking to very many people if you want to, but it's much more fun if you go places and experience the culture firsthand and get into conversations. And I don't have very many regrets from that program because I signed up for everything and I went to all these cultural things that I didn't have to, like the riding school and a bunch of museums, and I recommend doing that if you can. My one regret is that I did not make a whole lot of very lasting friends there other than the people who were in the program because I was shy, with the language barrier. And I do speak German, but not as well, obviously, as the natives did. And so I always felt like I just would be quiet and sit in the background in classes where everyone was from Austria. And by the end, I finally figured out, they don't really care if your German isn't 100% perfect. As long as you're trying, they're happy. And so that was a discovery I wish I'd made several weeks earlier than I did. But yeah, I signed up for an archery class while I was there, and everyone else in that was Austrian. And so it was kind of tricky because I couldn't always understand the instructor. He talked very fast in German, and I didn't have a lot of vocabulary related to Bogenschießen, so I just kind of waited for physical demonstrations and picked it up from there. And considering that, I didn't do too badly. But anyway, yeah, I don't really know what else to tell you, but it was a really good experience, and I just recommend sign up for everything and you won't be disappointed. Don't be that person who goes around saying I'm bored all the time, because if you're bored in Vienna, that's kind of on you. It's a very interesting city, and there's always something to explore, and you just have to get in that mindset, like, I want to learn everything, I want to experience everything. Feels kind of odd for me to give advice because I'm only a couple of years older than all of you, but if I were going to give advice, that would be it. Just experience as much as you can.
I really appreciate that, Fern, and I think a lot of it's the good advice is that it's helpful to lean into your, what I call, embrace your discomfort, right? Embrace your discomfort, because that's when you learn and grow the most. So that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Eugene, yes.
Yeah, I just want to chime in a little bit and say, I think that specifically about that, I think that why people say study abroad is so formative for later in life or for immediately. It's not just because later your German is, kick-ass or something like that, although that happens. It's that you don't have the luxury of always being in your comfort zone. And so if you go out and take an archery class in German, without knowing the vocabulary, then later you find out, holy smokes, I didn't die. And in fact, like, I'm so much better for having had that particular experience just for going through it. And then you keep having that experience over and over again, and you come back feeling like $1,000,000. And, sometimes your friends, your old friends might seem like they're just stuck in place because you've had all of these remarkable experiences. Even like figuring out what silverware was, in the cafeteria or something like that. My first time going to Germany, I had read a bunch of philosophy so I could talk about phenomenology and being's abandonment of being, but I didn't know the word for drawer. I didn't know the word for this or that. And I just picked all of it up on the fly. And I'm so glad that there are still things probably where I have a big hole in my German with like varieties of beer or something like that. But I'm so happy that I was able to have exactly the kind of experience for instead, maybe not with archery, but with lots and lots of other things. And I don't know, I feel like I didn't become a different person, but I was able to let more of myself out while having these experiences and study abroad.
And if I may just add one thing, I saw a couple people in the chat, right, that they haven't taken German yet. And so I don't want you to feel discouraged, because if you don't speak German yet, you have the opportunity to take a first German class here in Vienna at least, or maybe even beforehand. And I mean, that's also a really unique experience, yeah, to live in the place where this language, or maybe still at the beginning of your experience learning the language, is, by practicing, yeah, going to the supermarket and using what you learn in class 20 minutes afterwards. Yeah, that's something that Konich and I, Avita, both of us teach German 101, and it's really fun for us to see that where students, haven't had any German classes before and really just start using it right away. And it's also a lot of fun.
I know we want to give students a chance to ask questions, but just if I can say something here, in response to what Kyle just said, for students who are in this info session for the Vienna diplomatic program, and I looked at the chat, haven't had any German before, and you're, like a little nervous about that. I think you said, Taylor, like, eek, I haven't had German before. We are, and I talked to Alexandra about this over email, we are offering a section of German 101 in the spring if you would like to get some German before you go. In which case it would be recommended that you take German 102 in Vienna. Eugene just put the time of the German 101 section in the chat, but it's something to consider. It's not required, of course, to have any German before you go to Vienna. But if you'd like, a little bit of, vocab to use when you get on the ground, that option is available to you. But as Kyle said, it's also great to be taking a language while you're on site, right? So that you can learn something in class and then immediately apply it out in the world. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than that. It's kind of like a validation that you're actually learning a real thing and we're not just like making up a language and teaching you something pretend. But anyway, I'll stop talking here, and I'm sure there are some questions.
So yeah, thank you so much for adding that, Anna. That's super important. And so yeah, if anyone if anyone has questions, now's your time to speak up. So Emily, am I saying that right?
Yeah, you are.
Thank you.
And I just had a kind of like general question, and I think Eugene might be the one to be able to answer this, but how would the credits transfer for like the literature course and like the culture course? Would they be like 300 level courses, or would they go to like concentration courses?
So as a German major, we would sit down and look at your progress report before you leave, and then try to identify what would go where, and then be in touch while you're in Vienna about plugging those into the right places. If you happen to be a German major, since the classes are taught in German, they fulfill the requirement for being in that core. And then if you decide when you get there you want to switch and do something else, then we'll work with that too. So the easiest thing for me is to try to do it on a case-by-case basis with everybody. That counts for German, any variety of German studies, whatever you're doing, I would just want to be in touch with you about what you're taking, and then knowing where it's going to plug in when you get back. The one thing I can say is that sometimes it takes a little while for the grade to articulate coming from Vienna into DePaul. And then sometimes there's been an issue with where the course actually appears on your DPR. And so then I have to work with your academic advisor to have it moved. And they prefer that it not be moved until the grade is actually evident or visible in your DPR, because it causes further problems down the line or something like that. That all sounds complicated and unnecessarily so, but this is all things that students have been through before. And it's just a matter of patience and planning to make it work for everybody.
And to expound a little bit on what Professor Sampson said, the course codes that will show up on your DePaul academic record, you'll see either German 198s or 298s or 398s. Those are just course codes to indicate that this is a study abroad course in German language or culture. And as Eugene mentioned, you know, there is typically a bit of a delay. We get transcripts from University of Illinois and University of Vienna and Wirtschaft Universität. We get those maybe 3 to 4 months after the program has ended. So what happens is administratively, we list a letter R on your DePaul record in place of your grade. It's basically just a grade placeholder. R stands for research. So you'll have an R on your record until your actual grades come in. And then we will go ahead and update your academic record so that you'll see, you know, your A's and B's and so forth. And then, you know, with the help of your academic advisor and with Eugene and Anna and, you know, key stakeholders, they can help to update your record. What we've seen happen is that students' study abroad courses tend to auto-populate in the degree progress report under open electives. And a lot of times that's just not the correct place that they need to go. So they need to be manually moved. And that does take, you know, some time and some communication and collaboration. So just like Eugene said, have patience, but know that these are things that will need to be done, you know, as we conclude the study abroad experience.
You know, one last thing I'll say, the final, you know, Eugene as program director has the final call, but in the past, the courses that were considered Sprachkurse would articulate to 298, and the courses that were content courses like Literaturkurs would, for example, would articulate as 398. So there's some flexibility, like Eugene said, on the DPR, things can be manually placed as overrides, but that's kind of like the general tracking that the different kinds of courses in Vienna articulate to in DePaul. That's only, of course, for German language courses. The Vienna diplomatic students don't have to worry about that kind of thing.
I might just follow up on what Anna said and say that as the director of the Gray School, I'm in this wonderful position to help people get courses approved that can meet the requirements for their concentrations. And the wonderful thing about our program is that there's just maximum flexibility as far as what can count for your concentration classes. And so I just want you to know that not only do there's two things I want for all students. I want you to go abroad and I want you to save money. And so this program is all about that. And I want to point out too that I had the pleasure and privilege of visiting Vienna in December and spending time with Alexandra and her colleagues and a gentleman, Bruce. What is Bruce's last name? I'm forgetting right now.
Murray.
That's right. And so Bruce is a professor of the German language at the University of Illinois, and he and Alexandra hosted me for a day and took me around Vienna. And I have to say, I have lived and worked in Europe for 5 years. I'm a very spoiled person in terms of getting to see beautiful places, and I've rarely seen a city more beautiful as beautiful as Vienna. So I heartily recommend Vienna, but I also just want to say that the amount of time that you get to spend in country for the price is phenomenal. I have run programs for DePaul that lasted less than 2 weeks that cost the students almost $5,000. And that's pretty close to the price for this program, where you can spend up to, I don't know what the current price is now, but it was priced at last year. I thought
last year it was 3,700 or something like that. Our program fee is very affordable. It's very affordable for living, for being in Vienna for 16 weeks. That's amazing.
I can't think of another European program that gets you that much time in country for that price. So it's an incredible value. But I'm so impressed with the professionalism of the people that run this program. I think it's an excellent thing. And just for the students that are considering doing this under the guise of the Vienna diplomatic program, the other thing, and Alexandra alluded to this in her presentation, but you know, Vienna is a UN city, which is to say that it hosts a huge conglomeration of NGOs. And one of the projects that you undertake under the auspices of the Vienna Diploma Program is you do a deep dive into studying a Vienna-based NGO. And I just have to say that, the size of the city, the accessibility of the city, even if your German is not top notch, there's loads of people with whom you can communicate quite easily. And so I just think there's so many things to recommend this program. I cannot recommend it enough.
Thank you so much, David. Do we have other questions from our attendees? Yes, Adam?
I think Fern kind of touched on it, but I'm assuming there's a way to take classes outside of what's offered, whether it's in German or English, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So you can take basically all courses that are offered at the University of Vienna. So you can go ahead and take a look at the University of Vienna's course catalog. Maybe Kyle, can you put it in the chat so the students have quick access to it, and you can take whatever courses are offered there. So from political science classes to, I don't know, biology, whatever is offered there, you can take. And actually, I would like to encourage each and every one of you also to take a sports class at the University of Vienna, since it's such a nice way to meet other Austrian students and also international students and practice your German, whatever level it is, right? I mean, Vienna is definitely a city where you can survive with English only, as much as we hate to admit it, because we want all our students to speak German all the time. But no worries if you're only beginners.
Yes, Taylor, thank you.
Yeah, I have two questions. One's like more general, the other maybe is directed to Professor Wellman. But for the general one, like, I really enjoyed the presentation. I'm excited, but like, I'm just wondering like what you guys are thinking. Like, you seem pretty confident for being able to go in the fall. So like, do you know what like the safety precautions are, like the contingency plans, anything like that, like COVID wise?
So maybe a few of us would like to respond to this question. I can start. So the situation right now is that people in Austria are getting vaccinated now every day now. I think after today we have 140,000 people vaccinated. We just started. So the more people get vaccinated, the easier everything will get, right? Everyone also expects that spring and summer will change things, and everyone is very hopeful at this point. Of course, there's this one matter of travel restrictions from the European Union that we cannot, I mean, we can kind of predict it. I think it will look good, but we cannot assure, right? So that's why we will also develop with the international office at DePaul and also at Illinois a plan about cancellation fees, of course, see until when you can, we will try to determine the latest point that you will lose money in case you cannot come to Vienna in fall. But as we said, I mean, we are pretty hopeful, and maybe you need a negative test to get on the plane, for example. Maybe you need to have a 1 or 2 week quarantine in your dorms. But other than that, I think, yeah, we have every reason to be optimistic at this point. And maybe, Kyle, yeah, please go ahead.
No, I think it's really important what you said, and also that, I mean, the presentation today, we focus on things that we know that we've been doing for a long time, but at the same time, there might be a couple of things that will change, right? So for example, I'm not sure how they will do it next semester with the dorms. Yeah, if the double rooms will automatically all be single rooms or things like this, or, you know, all these sort of smaller issues that may, arrive, yeah, in terms of, you know, what have you. Yeah, so in any time that, as soon as we find out any information, of course, Alexandra and I will message you and keep you up to date. We don't want there to be big surprises at the airport in Vienna when you're here. Yeah, we will try to keep you informed as much as we possibly can.
But once you're here, you're fine. We'll pick you up no matter what.
Thank you both. I think, that, so to reiterate a bit of what Kyle said, clear communication early is really important to DePaul Study Abroad. So we're, to kind of echo what the sentiments that have already been said, we're very optimistic that as we see the vaccinations roll out, that we see the reduction in community transmission, decrease, that things are going to get better, that travel will resume, that things will be safer. There are still things that we're going to ask students to do. We're still going to ask you to be wearing masks. We're still going to be asking you to have hand sanitizer in a pocket, to use it every 10 minutes, to wash your hands as much as you can, to do some social distancing and to keep 1 to 2 meters apart. There are things that we're going to be telling you to do. We are also going to ask you to have contingency plans and have backup plans to possibly register for courses at DePaul in the autumn as a backup, so that once let's say everything goes really smoothly, fingers crossed, knock on wood, touch wood for luck, that you get to Vienna, we can easily swap you out of your DePaul courses and into your study abroad courses, so that you have your backup plans ready all the way up until you get to Vienna. So there's going to be things that we will help you through, and we're going to continue to monitor the local health context there as well as here. My feeling is that you're actually safer in Vienna than you are here in the United States. So I'm very, very optimistic for getting my students overseas. So again, clear communication, lots of good planning, and it does take time to prepare for study abroad. This is why we're talking about this now in January for a program that begins in September. The other sorry, before I kind of switch gears, does anyone have anyone else have anything to add to that kind of to that question about how to prepare? And
I would like to provide some follow-up information on your health and safety during your time in Vienna, because I think, obviously it's an important topic, and especially in times like this. We will also sign you up for Austrian student health insurance once you're here. And this will be included in your fees. This will not cost anything extra. And this means you have access to a health system with very little fees for individual treatments, very modest co-payments for anything. So I think health system wise, you are covered then.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. So important. One of the other things that I would like to address, actually, or to pose as an inquiry, is if our on-site directors can talk a little bit about the academic calendar in terms, it was presented that the autumn semester goes really from October to January. I wanted to address the logistics of DePaul operating on this trimester system, and that DePaul students typically have to return to Chicago in order to be ready for classes that begin for winter quarter, begin in January. So typically our DePaul students do return at the end of December, but I was hoping that either Alexandra or Kyle could kind of speak to that and what that looks like at the end of the autumn term for DePaul students returning home a bit early.
So in the past, as you said, the DePaul students returned in December, even though the Viennese semester goes until the end of January. This meant in the past that students had a somewhat limited course choice, but namely limited to courses where they came up with arrangements with the professors telling them, I have to leave in December, can I compensate somehow for the last weeks of class that I'm going to miss? And many professors were very accommodating because they realized academic calendars and overlapping academic calendars is something that, that's just the way it is. So that's one thing. You can choose courses. You can talk to the professors and see if they're willing to make exceptions for compensating. You can also try to search for courses that end before Christmas. So the so-called block courses that, for example, go, I don't know, for 4 hours a day, but only a couple of days or weeks in the semester. So that's another way of approaching it. And then, and this might be one of the few advantages of the whole global pandemic that we are enduring right now. The offerings are changing as we speak, right? So there are more and more online classes and online sessions, and people are getting used to that. So we expect that in fall 21, there will be, even fewer challenges with accommodating this academic calendar overlap. Also, please remember that you already have a few of your whole credits, amount of credits that you're collecting in Vienna and taking in Vienna. You already have some pre-reserved spots, right, for your German classes that we're offering, and the program core courses, they end in December anyway. Same goes for German 101, German 205, PS 393. So all of those courses, no problem at all, they end before Christmas. So it will only be 1, 2, maybe 3 other courses that we are talking about. And of course, the more flexible you are in your course choices, the better, the easier. But we were always able to figure that out and accommodate students and make sure that the students could take classes that worked for their study progress. Did I forget anything, Kyle and Evita?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think, both, I mean, look, in the last couple of semesters, we've had many students take a lot of the program courses, and that's been, like you said, very easy. And I think now with the coronavirus and the general reaction to teaching online, maybe there will be some different arrangements for the future. We will see.
And I really, that is kind of the one advantage of COVID, is that more and more has been offered online. Maybe students do opt to stay in Vienna for January and take courses at DePaul online. It could right, vice versa, right? It could work both ways. So that's another option. But thank you so much for elaborating on that. That was just a detail that I wanted to make sure to share with students. Are there other questions about the process or the program?
And if questions come up later on, don't hesitate to contact us and write us emails, and we can also schedule individual Zoom meetings, right, with all of us. So just let us know. Mm-hmm. We have time. We have no students here in Vienna. We are just waiting for you. There will be no group who will get more, preparations and the time investment in you.
Lots of it. I love it. Lots of personalized attention. I wanted, so sorry. Oh, okay. Sometimes I hear feedback, so I'm like, I want to make sure I'm allowing space for others to speak. So the application is currently open on the DePaul Study Abroad website. If you haven't already started an application, please do so. The application deadline is coming up on February 1st. You'll basically need we've tried to streamline it, 3 items. There's an application questionnaire to help us get to know you a little bit more and why this program can help you meet your academic goals, personal goals, professional goals. We would need an unofficial transcript just to double check GPA and language background, and then a recommendation. The recommendation forms are online. These are short online forms that your professors can fill out, or you can share it with an academic advisor, or if you are a student employee at DePaul, you can also have a staff supervisor fill it out. The form's 8 questions long and should only take about 10 minutes to complete. So once you submit those 3 things, the application review will commence after February 1st, and then we'll go from there. I also highly recommend that you begin applying for scholarships now, even before you've applied for a program, even before you've been accepted. The scholarships have opened now. So for example, There's a great scholarship by the U.S. Department of State. It's called the Gilman. We have links. If you go to the DePaul University Study Abroad website, we have a scholarships page with a list, full list of many scholarships that are out there. There are need-based awards from the Fund for Education Abroad. There's scholarships from Hostelling International. There's even outside scholarships from, you know, Scott's Cheap Flights, or, you know, so please be looking into scholarships and applying for them now. Some of them open in January, some of them open in March, but be hunting for those funding opportunities now so that you don't miss out. I'm going to put my email in the chat, but you can find my email address listed right on the DePaul Study Abroad website. We have a list of our advisors, our names, email addresses. We also have a virtual office hours in which you can schedule an appointment through Blue Star to have an advising session. So please do connect with me. I'd love to meet with you and help talk through any information that would be helpful for you. And similarly, we're all here to help, right? You know, Professor Wellman to talk about the diplomatic program, our on-site staff, our on-site directors who are just wonderful people, as you've all gotten a chance to listen to them today and to get to know them. Anna Suchuk and Eugene Sampson, we are all great resources to help you talk about how this program can help you advance in your academic studies and how it can help you even when you return from Vienna. Be on the lookout for the resume building workshops and the reentry, you know, reflection exercises that we help students try to unpack the experience. So even after you study abroad, we want to be here as a support for you. So make sure that you stay connected to our office. And yes, David, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on your comment, Cara, regarding scholarships and say that DPL majors also have the possibility of applying for a DPL scholarship for study abroad. And next year, just looking ahead to all of you, anybody who is a DPL minor is also going to be in a position to apply for those funds as well. So we need to talk, you and I, Cara, about how we're going to alert students to this other scholarship too.
Got it. I'll be sure to reach out and connect with you right after this so we can make some plans.